everybody. So my name is Ariana Kistner. I am a senior here at the University of Wisconsin-Stout. I am currently here on campus. I am in one of the classrooms. Right behind me is the bell tower. It might be going off, so we're gonna hope that it does not. But I'm in Harvey Hall, which is directly across from the bell tower. So if you ever have the opportunity to come to the UW Stout, I would definitely check it out because it's super, super pretty. Today, I would like to share some things that I gathered here about college that you really don't hear that much about college. So here's a couple tips and tricks that I thought were a little unique that you may not have heard about. So number one, depending on your major, you should be thinking about graduate school, and not in like, oh, you have to go to graduate school. It's whether you think you want to be going to graduate school and whether or not what your career is. It may actually be required for you to get a master's degree when you really didn't think you had to. For example, I am a psychology major and I had no idea that if you wanted to become a therapist or really do anything in the psych realm, you would probably need a master's degree, and if your bachelor's is just not going to cut it, you're going to need more qualifications, and I was not aware of that. And I would recommend around your sophomore year of college, and especially if you're incoming, kind of figure out, okay, is it a necessity for me to go to a master's program after this? And if so, what kind of things should I be looking up for? And this is a great time to be talking to your academic advisors and other professors that you trust to help you along to figure out if going to graduate school is not only the best option for you, but if it's even required. And it's all about your own personal goals and what you truly want within your own education and your own career path. So some of the reasons why I would recommend thinking about graduate school so early on is some of the resume requirements and things that are listed. You can try to think about knocking them out. So for example, jobs, clubs, and volunteering, those are all really great things. And if you're thinking about graduate school, having things to look back on and saying, well, when I was in my bachelor's program, I volunteered for this, I did this club, I had this job. So people know that you are reliable and you can multitask and do all sorts of things. And if you don't, there's going to be someone who has a more impressive resume. So you got to kind of think about if you would want to. And even if you don't go to graduate school, having an impressive resume for your career definitely does not hinder it at all. It will definitely help you. I would also recommend, if you're thinking about graduate school, start making connections with your professors. Having really good connections and talking to individuals, you'll be able to have them as a recommendation perhaps for graduate school or even for a job. So if you are at a really big school or if you go to a smaller school, either way, you want to make these connections, because if you don't actually talk to your professors, they might still say yes, but they might do like, oh yeah, they were good, versus, oh, I had Sally in my class, she did amazing, she was always on time. They have a much more personal response, which could help you in the long run. Another reason why you should be thinking early on is some of these programs are really, really hard to look into or to get into. So if you look early on, you can figure out what master's program is not something you're looking for. It could be the campus, it could be the distance, it could be the way that it's run. Like, there's so many things, and it's a lot harder to get into your master's program versus your bachelor's because now there's fewer options and fewer people get accepted, which it can be scary, but if you plan and prepare, it will all be okay. So that is just my tip number one for college that they don't really talk to you about. I would recommend, thinking about graduate school. Tip number two, parking can be super hard to find on campus. It can be really hard even if you have a pass. And the thing about that is, a lot of the times they say, oh yeah, we have all these parking lots, but the thing is they don't tell you most colleges actually sell more parking passes than they have lots and parking spots. And that's, it's solely for consumerism. It totally is that way, but I would recommend going a little bit early to class or know your backup options, because I've had a couple classes where I'm like, oh my gosh, it's full, and then I have to go to the next. Or at least know the streets around where you can still park for free. And unfortunately, you might have to park and pay, which is always sucks, but I would get to know your parking if you are a commuter. If you live on campus or you live close by and can walk, that's even better. Or if there's a busing system, that's amazing. But for us drivers and commuters that need to drive to school, I would 100% look for like free parking on roads, and I would look for all the best parking for your classes, because mostly everyone's going to be trying to find just a spot and close to their building, which can get really packed really soon. I would also recommend, if you live close by, try going to your classes a little bit early, because currently it is summer and I do work on campus, but I do know this: buildings are open. Just be respectful, and you can tour the building. They have tours going on during the summer and during the academic buildings, because they're touring and showing potential upcoming freshmen the building. I would recommend, if you're like, okay, I need to know my classes, and you get really stressed out about that, and in general it's not a bad thing to kind of get to know your campus a little bit better, you can go into the buildings and the academic buildings and check out your classrooms, and that could be a great way to like ease your stress if you have any about what classrooms are yours, and trying to get that rhythm down sooner rather than later. But like I said, oh my gosh, if you are going to do that, just try to be respectful, because the people that still work there, these are their full-time jobs, and like the people in the offices, if they hear a bunch of noise, it echoes, and so I'd just be respectful of them. But other than that, they do not care. They love seeing people and will help you out and have no problem. So I would recommend, if you are really nervous about this, get to your campus a little bit early, because they are open and they would love to see you. I would look up your school hours though and see what time they're open, because that's when the buildings are shut. So you don't want to make a trip all the way there and then figure out, oh crap, they're not even open, which would suck. Another tip I have is figure out what services you get for free. I wish I knew and thought about this sooner when I was a freshman, but figure out what services you get for free. We all know college is crazy expensive. It's ridiculously expensive. And if they're offering you services and there are services you can get for free, I would jump on it, because when you're out of college, I bet some of these services are not going to be free no longer. So you want to be able to have these services right now and get the most use out of them. So some of the services that you should look for are the gyms free. Here at UW Stout, there are 2 gyms. Both are free. They're included in tuition. I know at some of the schools my friends are at, they are not free. They have to pay on top of their tuition to go to the gym. So that can kind of suck. And if you're really into the gym and like working out, that can be a hindrance on maybe that school, but also it can also be an encouragement, be like, oh, I can go for free. Like, I can have this whole thing for free. Another thing is, we get free computers here at UW Stout. I mean, they're paid, they're not free, but they're in our tuition, and after we graduate, we get to keep our computers. So it's kind of a nice service. So figure out, does your school give you free laptops? And if they do, what kind of services do they provide with those laptops or other technology? We also have disability services, so then you can have help in your classrooms for your disability. So there's all sorts of services that are provided here and on other campuses, and you just want to look into these services and see what is free and what you can take advantage of, because trust me, they want you to take advantages of these services, because if they didn't, they would not be free. They would not want students to have that. Another service, I will be making a video about this, but service for UW students, I'm not sure about other states, but UW students who go to a UW school, you get a free online library that you can download free books to your Kindle. And I will be making a video on how you can exactly do that, because I found it by accident and I wish somebody told me about that. But I think it's a really cool resource, because who wouldn't want a free book versus you have to pay for a book? Like, you're gonna want the free book. My very last tip is, when you have your classes, just try to remember that you might potentially have these professors again in the future. So just think, how do you want to be remembered? And they might not remember you, but if they do, you want it to be a good memory. So try to remember what you want to be remembered by. And if you do a great job and everything, I bet they're going to be more willing to help you versus somebody who's like doesn't show up a lot and doesn't do as many things. They're going to want to have students who are genuinely interested, respectful, and they are treated like how you would want to be treated in that position. So just try to remember, you're gonna potentially see them again, and not to completely diss them off. I mean, because sometimes I know it's so easy to be like, well, I can just get a different class. But sometimes you might be stuck with them if that's the only option, because sometimes just taking the L and going with that person again is so much easier than just having to reschedule everything all over again. So try to remember who you might have to see again in the future and how that might play out, because I definitely know there's been professors and I've had classmates, and just by the way they've behaved, you can tell that they're like, oh my god, I'm so over this. So just trying to remember that you might have to see them again, and that might affect how they treat you and what they might not do, because if you act like that, they might not want to give you a resume recommendation and stuff like that. So just try to think about that. All right, so that is the end of this video. This was just my recommendations of college, which I personally knew about, which I haven't really found too much online for, but that was just me. I wasn't digging too much around, but I hope you all have an amazing day, and I hope to see you soon. All right, bye.